Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chit Chat podcast. My name is Guy Magno. I have the joy of serving as the host of this podcast. I just got done recording a really fun podcast with Jessica Johnson. Jessica is one of the owners of an agency in town called Evermore Co. We had a really fun conversation about agency life and, just about being creative and what it's like to have a partnership in business and kind of the benefits of being able to have people in your life that you get to work alongside of is so special. So super fun conversation. I'm excited for you to hear it now. Jessica, thank you so much for coming and joining us on the podcast. Great to have you with us today.
I am so excited to be here. This is a beautiful space.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of fun to be in an old, 125-year-old building. It's kind of fun.
Is it historic? Is it marked as historic?
Yeah, I think it is. I think there is on the outside of the building, I think there is one of those little plaques.
Okay.
I should know that for sure, which I don't, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It is, whether it's on the historic registry or not, it is historic.
Right.
Because it's old.
Right.
Even these walls, if you were going to build this building today, you would never use big, giant hunks of granite.
Right.
It would be too expensive in material and in labor. And so it's just fun that
it's unique.
Yeah, these old things exist like this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sweet. Jessica, would you tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah. Jessica, I am with Evermore Co., a full-service marketing creative agency. We like to say in central Minnesota. We are physically located in Sartell, but we actually have clients globally. We deal with overseas and everything, so all kinds of stuff.
Cool.
So I do more of the marketing strategy side of the business.
What does Evermore Co. mean? How did you guys come to that name?
Oh, I don't know. I bet you we had 600 ideas down. And we've always said like
good creatives, lots of good options.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think it's harder to market, brand, name yourself than a client, right?
It's not just naming.
Yeah.
Literally everything is easier for someone else than for.
Yes.
Agreed.
The biggest thing when Jody and I decided on Evermore was the idea of we're always learning. Everything can be evermore. Always growing, always learning, always pushing to be more.
Yeah, I love that.
We get everything across the board. We get the Nevermore, the Raven. We get Taylor Swift. I think there's a Led Zeppelin song. So we get it all. It's fine, whatever. And I think we went with co because you can interpret what that means. If it's company, collaborative, collective, whatever that is, we kind of liked that idea.
Fun. Mm-hmm. And so, just to be clear, does it mean one of those things, and you're just not saying which one it is, or
it is?
Yeah, it's just intentionally open.
Correct.
It can be whatever you want it to.
Correct.
Be. Cool.
Yes.
And what kinds of the creative world is kind of big. Mm-hmm. Every agency does things a little bit different, but kind of what's your guys' sweet spot? What do you guys like to do the most?
Yeah. So to take a step back, maybe in my history, in my past, I was at a nonprofit for 13 years, and that's where my heart was. It was really difficult. I grew up more low income and struggled quite a bit as a child with my family from an economic standpoint. And so as I was growing up, I ended up getting into St. Ben's, something that I never dreamed I could do with the price tag, of course, and ended up wanting to give back because of my upbringing and my childhood in ways that I benefited from services locally. And so I went to United Way and did marketing there for 13 years. And while I loved it...
Was your degree in marketing?
Communication and marketing.
Okay,
Yep. And I loved it there. I loved the mission, but I get bored really quickly.
All right.
And so I loved that it was challenging. I feel like if you can market a nonprofit, you can market anything. If you can convince people to give their hard-earned dollars for nothing tangible and time, resources, anything, for nothing super tangible in return, you can market anything. Yeah. So I enjoyed that, but it got really tough for me, the same brand, the same thing over and over again. And a lot of red tape just because, United Way is a global brand. And so we had to follow very strict guidelines. It was hard to be creative, right? And so the opportunity arose. I was working with a local agency in town, and they actually were trying to hire me, and I couldn't leave United Way. Jody, one of the owners, even said, she goes, I think her heart has to get ripped out of there before she'll leave. And something happened. My position got eliminated. And so I ended up going over to the agency world. I thought that would be fun to try something new, exciting, fast-paced. And so that just worked out there.
And if you do, like you said, if you're easily bored or agency world is a great, this is a great option because every new client, you kind of have to throw yourself into it almost like you're starting it.
Yes.
But then, in 6 weeks or 6 months, there's kind of a new one and another one to learn. And
yes, new challenges,
Yeah,
new excitement,
that's
different
cool.
brand structures. Yes, I love it. So at that agency, like I said, Jody was one of the owners there, and her and I just had some different visions of where our passions were. And so we ended up starting Evermore Co. about a year and a half ago, doing the same thing. But one of the things that we feel like that we're good at is she is phenomenal, one of the best graphic designers I've ever seen in my life. Creative, the way her brain works is just phenomenal. And so I felt like that side was really, really strong. The creative, the design aspect, being able to see those things. But then I brought to the table more of that strategy and tactics and analysis and things like that. And so
Both of those are so needed.
exactly.
Both sides of that.
Yes. And so that's where we were like, that's where we can each be really strong in our own
Yeah.
areas and bring our passion to the table. Like we always say when we're hiring, if you're not 100% passionate about what you do and you think it's just about a paycheck, you're not going to fit with our culture.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great. At Switchboard, one of our core values is healthy discontentment. And so what you were saying about how you guys picked Evermore Co., we have that same kind of thing. I absolutely love that. Healthy discontentment for us is like discontentment isn't good, right? Like if you're discontent in your life or your job, like this isn't good.
Yeah.
But there's a version of that is like I'm not content to stay where I'm at. I'd like to
Yes.
grow. I would
Yes.
like to be better. That doesn't mean I'm like upset or sad with my life necessarily. It means that I know that I can keep growing.
Yes.
And so we have that as one of our core values too.
I love
so,
that.
Yeah.
I love that. One of my sayings that I use that actually a mentor had taught me was, if you're going to fail, fail spectacularly.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to do something and you might fail and that's okay, but because that means growing,
Yeah.
but give it your all. Don't just tiptoe around it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that.
I heard someone say recently in kind of reflecting on failure that people aren't afraid to actually fail. Like as humans, we kind of understand that like you're not going to bat 1,000 on everything.
Right.
The thing that's hard is failing in front of someone. And so it isn't that like, oh, I tried that and it didn't work. Like if you're the only one that sees that, like, no big deal.
Right.
That we have to end up doing that in front of other people. And that's where the kind of like a fear of man of sort that
Yes.
kind of comes through. And so
Yes.
how do you keep growing? How do you keep moving in that kind of direction where you let yourself maybe look foolish or not
Yeah.
work in front of somebody else? But
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time to
Yeah.
get through that. Yeah.
I mean, if you figure out how to like officially beat that and overcome that, would you please let me know? Because I'm still,
Oh, I'm not even close.
Yeah.
I can talk it really
Yeah,
good.
it's good.
But doing it is another story.
yeah. You said that you guys work internationally. Like, what is that like? Like I don't think that we've never done any of that before. Are there things that you have to do that are different than what you're, when you're working here in the States?
Yeah, there are different laws and rules, and it can get a little crazy and hectic. Time zones, obviously. I really don't want to get political, but one of our vendors in particular, one of our clients uses all their manufacturing is done in China. And so that's something that we're watching of what could happen there with the politics and what's happening there. And so as we talk to our vendor there, it's really interesting to hear his fears and what could happen in doing that. But I mean, there's so many challenges. It's really funny. We're talking about doing some packaging with him, and he kept telling us that it would be too expensive to put glitter on packaging. And he wouldn't tell us how much. We're like, well, what's too expensive? So finally he said, well, it'll be a penny more
Per
piece.
Yeah.
And we're that's okay. We're okay with that.
Yeah.
So there's just some really interesting things of how they see things versus how we see things. And so there's definitely a communication, what we call things, even to the point of paper thickness. They don't use like pounds of paper thickness or anything like that. And so just trying to figure out how to communicate some of those things has been really interesting over the years. Obviously, time zone's an issue. So, I know when I email him and it's 7, 8 o'clock here, he's going to email me in the middle of the night and things like that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I've had to stay up all night to communicate with him just on
if
his
something's big
time
or
and
important. Yeah.
in the factory and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, languages on packaging has always been interesting. Point size has to be a certain thing, even in other languages and all of those standards. So it's always a challenge, but it's one of my favorite things. I love when there's a good challenge.
Yeah, that's cool. In the last year and a half or so of, running your own business, like what's something that you have learned about yourself?
I was recently asked Well, I get asked a lot, but recently I was talking to someone and they asked if this was my dream. Like, did you want to run your own business? And I just laugh and I said, I still don't feel like I do. I don't think I necessarily am cut out for it some days. We all have that imposter syndrome a little bit. But no, I never dreamed that I was going to do it. I never thought I would. The opportunity just came up with Jody, and like I said, our core values and everything aligned. And so I've learned that I can do it. To be honest, I didn't know if I could.
Cool. That's really, really neat. I don't think, I'm trying to think of from our end, I don't think I ever like set out to start a business either. Like
I want to find someone who did.
Like as a kid, like I think, you know what I want? I'm going to do this kind of thing and this kind of thing, and that's going to lead me to starting a business someday. Mm-hmm. I never
What do you think? What is something that you learned about running your own business?
In the first 18 months or
or in general, or was something you wish you knew going into it? How's that one?
Yeah. I think that until you've done it, it feels maybe insurmountable. Mm-hmm. That like until you've actually like jumped that chasm, there's something about the perception when you're on the side of the chasm of like, I've never started a business before. When you just look across, it looks way too big. Yeah. It looks so big. And then from this side of the chasm, like I'm just trying to like holler back and be like, it's not actually that big. Yeah. It doesn't mean you won't fall, but it means it's possible. Yeah. And I think if you put some of the right kinds of things in places, you're willing to work hard, you're not just looking for an easy paycheck, you are excited to like work hard to meet the need of a client, you can jump that, and there are so many people that are interested in helping you start your business. Yes. There are, I mean, even just like from a practical level, like there's companies like Score and, or organizations called Score, and what's the other one? At St. Cloud State, SBDC. Yes. There are these organizations and groups that like, they exist just to like help you do the things that you think are too big, and they're free. Yeah. And then there's people like accountants and stuff. And like, if you don't want to think about how to file your taxes, there are people that will do that for you. Yes. And so like, but until you've kind of like exercised some of that muscle of trusting some people and pushing yourself where it's maybe a little uncomfortable, it feels like it's maybe not possible, but it is. Yeah. And I almost never recommend people start a business if they don't have any interest in it. Like if they're like, I love working for someone, I love that I get to go home after 40 or 50 hours and I don't have to think about anything. I don't think I've ever been like, well, then you know what? You should take on this like giant risk and have all this uncertainty in your world. But if people are like, I think maybe someday I want to start a business, if you give me any of that little like nod in a conversation that you've been thinking about it, I'm going to push you so hard. Yeah. Because I love that I've been able to do this and kind of be my own boss. And so that would be mine, is like, the chasm isn't quite as big as maybe you think it is, or like you feel it is before you've jumped. Yeah. I think to your point, exactly. If the business you're getting into, you're passionate and you love that, the rest you can figure it out. Yeah. Yeah. To your point, I didn't think I could. And that's why, like I said, I'm surprised that I could, where it's like, I don't know how to do this or this or this, but there's people who are willing to help you all the time. There's people cheering for you. There's people who came out of the woodwork, old friends or old colleagues who were like, well, I can set up your QuickBooks for you, or I can, let me help you with your HR stuff, or let me do this. And it felt so great. The amount of support when we were starting the business was actually overwhelming. Yeah. How much positive feedback, how much support we got was incredible. That's really, really cool. And, not all partnerships are the right thing, but, if you're thinking about starting a business, like you should pick your business partner carefully. But like, even just like you talking about how you and Jody have these like different kinds of skill sets, like there's an entire kind of like aspect of running a business that you don't probably need to think about, but maybe don't spend a lot of time thinking about those things, like letting Jody continue to do those things that she does really, really well, and letting her do those so that you can put your energy and attention into the things that I'm sure Jody is stoked out of her mind to have you doing those things, and then being able to kind of share in that burden. It's one of the ways to make that jump a little bit easier, because I can rely on someone's expertise, not just like their passable thing, but their expertise to do that thing. I've loved that I have 2 business partners, and the things that each of us are good at, the other ones are at best neutral at. Yeah. Like we are really, really, really uniquely talented or skilled, like the things that each of us are good at, the other ones are almost not good at.
Yes. Yep.
Or at least don't have any interest in, or are so taxing to them. If they decide to put their energy there, it's so draining. Where if you just let your partner like do that, not only are they way better at it than you, but they love it.
Yes. Right.
And so having people that you trust around you is it's such a blast.
I get asked a lot about that, a business partner, and I know she does as well, having one in the past. And, people are like, how do you do it? Do you get sick of each other? Because I will tell you to this day, Jody saved my life. She is the best thing that ever happened to me. I'll say behind my husband. But truly, I mean, he would say it probably is. We're best friends first. And everybody always said, are you afraid that you won't be friends anymore? Something will happen. And I always say no, because we do disagree.
Yeah.
And it's really healthy and exciting sometimes. It's really hard at times. But our foundation is built on love and respect for each other. And like you said, the talents and what each other can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And so during those times where we maybe disagree or have different opinions, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because the base is there, that we have so much respect for each other that we can get through it. And we agree where, sometimes we have a saying that, is this the hill you want to die on?
That's great.
And it's, if it's not, and we're disagreeing on something, then go for it. And I'm going to support you 100%, even if it wasn't my initial where we should go. If this is very important to you, we're going to go your direction, and I'm going to support you 100%, no matter what.
It's cool. With my two partners, we each have our area of the business that we are kind of in charge of, or again, it's where our skill sets are kind of most naturally used, and we have to make decisions all day. Each of us is making decisions all day, every day inside of our roles. But sometimes when those things are really big decisions, there might be a disagreement on like, I don't think that's quite the right thing. And we will have those good conversations. And I mean, for sure we disagree. There have been times when we've disagreed, and we can, in areas that aren't my expertise, I feel very comfortable with these buddies, with these dear friends, to give them all of my opinion. Like this is what I think about this thing. And at the end of this thing, I will completely trust whatever decision that you make.
Right.
And there's something really sweet about, like, I love doing that for them. Even if I don't quite get it or I don't understand, like, I want their opinion to win out, because I know that they're better at me than that thing. Right. And so like, I'll use an easy one. Ryan is such a talented designer. And so like when he's making a logo or doing something, I'll give him all of my opinions. Like I enjoy all of this, and I love the conversation around it. And I love giving my perspective and asking questions about it. And when it comes time to make a decision, like, do whatever you want to do, Ryan.
Yep.
And the thing is, and I'll back him for it, because tomorrow, when it's kind of in my camp, he's going to back me.
That's right.
And there's something sweet about like when you give each other that kind of like trust on the front end. When something doesn't work, right? Inevitably, I'm going to make a decision, right? I'm going to make a case for, I think this is why we should do it. And then if it doesn't work, having the support of my buddies who say like, all right, we'll just get it the next time, is so sweet, because tomorrow they might do the same. They might make a decision on behalf of our business that maybe wasn't quite the right thing, but if we continue to back each other and support each other, we can move forward well inside of our different expertise. Yeah.
I wouldn't do it any other way.
Yeah.
Because it's so exciting to share the success and the excitement with somebody, but also share the challenges and the downturns. Because, I mean, they're hard days, like you said,
100%.
Lots of hours and lots of really tough things and decisions. And to do that alone, I think I'd really struggle. So to have someone to have that close and be able to share that with, I wouldn't do it any other way.
Do you know who Dave Ramsey is?
Yes.
Money guy. I like so much about Dave Ramsey. My wife and I, we paid off our debt early, because of that. There was lots about the Dave Ramsey thing that we really liked. One of the things that he says is the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. And again, he's got this radio show, and people call in all the time, and they're crying about partnerships that went bad and all that thing. And I get it. I mean, there are for sure times when partnerships go bad, but at the same time, this thing that I have been able to be a part of with my dear friends has been so sweet. I wish for everybody to have this thing of like, I'm not doing this thing alone. When the days are good, high-fiving with your buddies is so much fun.
It is.
We worked hard for that. Can you believe that came through? Oh, that's so cool. And when days are hard, like, oh, wow, that thing really hurts. Having partners that you get to like be within that is so helpful.
Yep.
So I like so much of the Dave Ramsey thing, but there is a nuance to the partnership thing.
And people always say, a business partnership, to me, it feels like a marriage partnership, right? You, like you said, you pick that well. Let's hope. Doesn't always work, right, for everybody. And neither is every business partner you pick necessarily. But you hope that both of them are long-term forever. Yeah. And so it can work.
And the benefit of when it goes well is it's so good.
It's worth it.
It's so good and so worth it. Yeah. What's next for Evermore Co? You guys are 18 months in. What do you think the next 18 months and the next 18 years look like for you guys?
We are continuing to grow. It's been very exciting. Lots of referrals, which has been amazing. We really
Isn't
haven't.
That the best?
Yeah. When it comes that way, it feels so great.
Yeah.
What was nice was when we started Evermore, it's a little bit different, obviously, than when you maybe would start a business from scratch. We did bring with all the clients that I managed at the old agency. So it was really nice to be able to start off with a large book of clients and base there. But since then, we've grown so much. And so that's been really exciting. We do have an office space in Sartell. We do.
Where are you guys at? I don't even know.
We're right by the Boy Scout office.
Okay.
So right on the border of
Troop Drive.
Yep, on Troop Drive. Yep,
cool.
Yep. So we're right on the border of St. Cloud,
Yeah.
Sartell. Both Jody and I live in Sartell, just so happens. I just moved there in the last couple of years. So it was just kind of nice to be there, to be a little bit off the beaten path from St. Cloud and downtown a little bit, which I love because, like, I think you and I were chatting before, there are parts of downtown that I absolutely miss. But it's been really nice to be there. Currently, we're located there. Our dream is to actually build our own space somewhere in Sartell. So to have our own building in maybe 5 years, to even possibly be able to rent out, some creative space or something like that is something we've always been
I would
excited
recommend
about.
the co-working.
Yes,
thing.
yes.
I'm a fan of it.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So definitely have our own space.
Yeah.
In the next 5 years is our hope. Again, we are so close to each other just in life that we talk about 10, 15, 20 years down the road all the time with her kids. She has children. I don't. I spend time in their lives and we vacation together, our spouses and all of us together. That's and really so fun. Being able to retire together and everything, we talk about just spending that kind of time together. But just growing, we don't want to be huge. And I don't know what that means yet.
Right.
But we like being close and together. We believe in a hybrid schedule, but definitely not 100% remote.
Yeah.
There
is something about the creative process.
There is, exactly. That's and with the creative field, we feel like to be able to be there in person, brainstorming, being creative, you completely lose something that our agency needs, at least, to be in person.
When you hear about these fully remote agencies, it's like I'm baffled that it works.
Me too.
Me too. How there's something about rubbing a shoulder with someone and having lunch together that feels like it creates much better work.
Yeah. And being creative is very vulnerable. Whether it's a designer being, ideas, messaging, tactics, anything. And so, it can be really hard those days. And so if you don't have that bond and that connection with each other as a team, I don't think it would work for me.
Yeah, when you make something for someone, you're kind of putting a piece of yourself into that. And then, some clients realize, they maybe have some awareness of the creative process, but a whole bunch of them don't.
No, right.
And they don't because that's why they're asking you to build something for them because they don't know how to do it themselves.
Right.
And how people can respond sometimes is interesting. It can be interesting how people respond, but having people that are in the know with you to kind of support you in that is super, super important. Yeah.
Yeah. So we wouldn't have it any other way. Actually, COVID, I went crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not really exaggerating. After we worked from home for about a year, I'm an extreme extrovert. Extreme.
And Jody too.
Jody's an yeah, she lived her best life, she says, during COVID. I woke up one day and I told my husband we need to sell our house. I couldn't look at the same four walls.
Right.
And I did.
We got to do something different.
It within a week, our house was on the market, and I couldn't look at the same walls for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so I lost it a little bit. Yeah. And so had to find something different, do something different, be with people to help with her extreme introvert. We do Mondays and Fridays typically at home and then do the rest in the office.
That's cool.
Which is even good for me as an extrovert, to have that downtime to really be by myself and do my desk work and things like that. It is I hate to admit it. She was right. It's healthy for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
When we have designed logos, like, so Ryan, our lead designer, if we submit 3 or 4 logos, they're only going to pick one.
Yep.
The nature of this thing means that 3, like if you present 4 options, 3 of them people are going to say no to.
Yeah.
And this is for sure a fault in me, and something that when I watch Ryan receive feedback, it's fascinating because he does it so well. I sometimes am like, I'm sad for him that all of them aren't selected.
Yes.
Because he put himself into all of those.
Yes.
And I know they're only going to pick one.
Yes.
Only one of them can be picked.
Right.
But the fact that these other 3 don't get life, that they don't get to
they
kind
go
of
to
like,
a graveyard.
Yeah.
We call it the logo graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. And so every time we present a logo, I have this I'm 25% happy because one of them got selected. And I can be 75% bummed because these real creativity went into there, and it's not going to go anywhere, which is absurd. Like I even as I say it, I realize that's a stupid thing.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. And the way that Ryan receives feedback, people talking about it is, it's fascinating. I love it.
Yeah. They're like, it's okay. And I'm like, is it?
Yeah. Are you sure?
I'm like, yes, it's not my work and I feel it. No, I couldn't agree more. And by the way, Ryan, I have all the respect for him. He is a phenomenal designer as well.
Well, thank you.
You have a great designer there.
Thank you. Something that you and I have in common, that we get to help sell the work of really, really good and talented people.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you can stand behind it and be proud. Very proud.
I'm sure you feel the same way, but when I'm trying to sell something, I have this just sweet piece of I know that we can help you. We can actually meet a need for you. Yes. I think selling is a blast. I feel great about it because you're going to get you need a logo, you're going to get Ryan. I have this kind of pride in him and in what he does. And
yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes me happy.
All right, Jessica, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It has been so sweet to have a fun conversation with you and to be rooting for you guys. It's been neat to see over the last 18 months what you guys have done, and I'll be excited just to keep watching and seeing how you guys grow. As we close, this is part of our podcast called The Unpaid Ad. Is there someone, something, some idea that you think deserves a little shout out today?
Yes. Okay. I want to start by thanking you for having me on. Because I know, you have an agency, we have an agency. I am 100% of the belief that there's work for all of us, and we all have our own. Yes, it makes me so happy. One of my great friends works at another agency. I think we can all do fun things. I think you mentioned going bowling. I'm still up for it. Let's make it happen.
Can't wait.
I'm serious.
Can't wait.
So I do appreciate you having me on. It's been wonderful. So my unpaid advertisement, and unfortunately, I'm going to say the big box stuff because Jody tells me that I'm a walking advertisement and I'm very brand loyal to many things. And when I get excited, I am the biggest brand ambassador you'll ever meet. So, for example, there's a few of them. Ninja products.
Like the blenders and stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Knives.
Please say more.
Pans. The toaster oven, I will...
Air fryer? Do they make an air fryer?
They sure do.
Of course.
I have them all.
Yep.
So I will tell you all day long to purchase that stuff. Office supplies, I will only use Sharpie pens.
Okay.
And so if you make me use a cheap pen that's not that, I get very upset.
Right.
So only Sharpie pens. I used to, unfortunately, I'm not as much anymore because they've changed their brand, but I used to be very brand loyal to Southwest Airlines.
Okay.
That was a big thing for me. I love to pick my own seat.
Yeah.
They're getting rid of that.
Right.
So I'm having trouble.
What do you do?
Existential
crisis. Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really sorry that you're walking through that.
So, yeah. So I get, if I'm brand loyal, I am a brand ambassador, and I will tell you all day long that you have to buy those things. So
fun.
And it's really strange things sometimes out of the blue, but it's just my thing.
Sweet. So my unpaid ad for the day is a restaurant called V9. It's in Northeast Minneapolis. The chef is a guy named Yi Vang. I've known Yi for a long time. Yi was a chef at a church. And I mean, he was so early in his career when I got to know him, but he just had a love and a passion for food. And I mean, he has just exploded in his kind of culinary acumen and what is happening in his world. Vinai, Vinai. You have to go and try it. It is so good. The best pork chop I've ever had in my entire life was at Vinai. So go see my friend Yia at Vinai in the cities. It's so good. And it's Hmong food, kind of like Southeast Asian food. It's so good. All right. Well, Jessica,
Sounds good.
thank you so much for coming. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.